All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Learn, Live, Love. Today's interview is going to be sponsored by parentingtouch.com, helping couples with infants by teaching them the very subtle ways in which babies communicate their needs. This helps parents and babies create the best possible environment for a baby to thrive. And it even actually helps the parents to be able to safeguard the marriage through one of the most stressful times in a relationship, babies. She's also a specialist in many other important topics about bringing the baby home. Check out parentingtouch.com for more information. Welcome, Ellen. Ellen is a well-known expert on the subject of bringing baby home and is graciously consented to us actually doing this interview to share with us all the cool tips and tricks that hardly any couple with an infant knows about that can really help you provide the best possible environment for a baby to thrive. So, Ellen, thank you again. I want to go over some of the statistics and relationships over babies before we get started, because I don't know if people know this. There's been studies done on how impactful bringing baby into the home, for especially the first baby into the home, can create so much dissatisfaction in marriage. Actually, they did a study with 130 couples over 13 years, and these were young couples. And they noticed that over the first 3 years of a baby coming home, 2/3 of the parents reported being dissatisfied. A lot of times it's because they don't really know that how much stress a baby is going to be into the family, because they think everybody has a baby. It's a baby, but just the sleep deprivation alone can cause depression. And you deal with a lot of those things, right? So, Ellen, let's jump right in. My first set of questions is going to be about your background and your experience in the field of bringing a baby home, so that couples with infants in our audience can understand who you are, where you're coming from, and how you can relate to where they are right now. And you actually have an infant of your own right now, 5 weeks?
Yes, just 5 weeks.
Wow, you look great, by the way.
Oh, thank you. It's makeup that always happens. So I came as an au pair. I'm from Brazil originally, and for 7 years I've been working with babies and toddlers and children, and it's been great. And as an au pair also, I was inside of the house all the time, so I have really to watch the dynamic of the family having a baby and having also sometimes a toddler, an older baby, having to deal with that. So everything that you said, like about the sleep situation, how that just adds up of having a baby. And I have been working as a nanny and specialize in newborns. And then I decided to do a baby-led sleep consultant, start to studying about the sleeping and how that really affects in the babies and the families, and how can I help them, because the sleeping industry, it's like big and there is a lot of misunderstanding about it. So I jump in to help parents to understand better the babies and help them to thrive in this environment, the new environment for the baby. And I have been studying about this a lot, like since 7 years ago, and just keeping going.
Yeah. So what kind of, is there any formal training that you get to be a nanny or anything like that?
No, there is not a formal training, but you have to have the experience. So I had experience from Brazil when I came as an au pair, and you just add it on. Okay. And I learned a lot from others.
Yeah, so I saw that you have training, and it's not necessarily in having the baby, like the traditional training is this, that like you have this particular training you use to make the baby fall asleep. You don't use that. You use more subtle ways of being able to know how the baby is communicating to you what they need, right?
Exactly. So we don't do the formal sleep training, the CEO, the cry it out, or the Ferber method. We use another ways to understand the needs of the baby, knowing the baby. So we help the parents understand what the baby is going through now, and then how can we help them. And we go through the secure attachment. We go into about the cues of the baby that's giving us, and most important about the empathy of understanding that the baby is in a new world. Everything for them, it's new. They have no idea what's going on, and how we can introduce this new word for the baby in the best way. And a lot of babies goes a lot of changes the first 2 years. It's incredible how much they grow and they learn in 2 years. So we try to help the parents to understand what's going on with your baby right now and why he's acting like that, and what you can do to make them better, to feel better and go through this phase, because everything on babies, it's phase. And the phase, the thing that I always say to the parents is, it shall pass. And it does pass, and then comes another one. It's like playing a video game. Like every day it's a different phase, and parents go through, the babies go through. But there is ways to make it easier. So as I said, like we go to the secure attachment, connection, understanding your baby and being empathic about it, what's going on with them now.
And that's really important, because in the work that I do, Susan Johnson is a really big name out there, and she deals with attachment styles. And that came from Bowlby's concepts of how people attach when they're young affects how they attach when they're older, and in their closest relationships. And one of the things that they went over was this secure attachment idea. And it's the concept that if you, as a child, when you're a child, you're totally devoid of you're helpless, and you need the help of a caretaker. So one of the things that you do is to grab that person's attention, or to be able to draw that person to you to meet your needs, you need to express yourself in some ways, sometimes crying, sometimes even smiling, sometimes doing things that grab the attention of that parent. And if the parent comes to you in a secure way and meets your needs, then as you grow up, you're more secure in that. If they don't do that because of other reasons, it could be even biological reasons like depression, postpartum depression. It's not the parent's fault. It's something that's going on. And if they get that, then they're pushing the baby away. And then that baby later on has issues with just not trusting people, and have issues within their marriage too, because those are some of the closest bonds. So is that something, because that was one of the things that we talked about that I was really interested in, because of that secure, and teaching the parents how to have that secure attachment. Is there any tricks that you can give the parent right away for, like, before they bring home the baby to when they come home, like, so that they can get started in that kind of mindset?
Yes. I think everything you said about meet the baby's need, it's very important. And the crying is the way that they communicate it. So don't see the cry as a trait, or like, oh my, he's spoiled, or he's just want attention. It's the communication. There is something wrong with your baby. He needs the attention. And sometimes not something wrong, like physically, he doesn't need food enough. Babies really need to be snuggled. They really need to be in contact with another human being, because that's what they know. They've been in the belly for 9 months and hearing all the noises right there, the heartbeat, that's what they know. So when you just leave your baby on the crib or the bassinet, he doesn't know that environment. So the first thing that you have to do when you bring a baby home is try to reply as much as possible the uterus environment. So dark, noise. So noise machines comes with a lot of that. And hold your baby. I know it's hard. I know very well. Because also not just my baby, I have hold a lot of babies prior to that. So hold your baby, because that's what they know. Like skin to skin is very important, because they know these are warmth from another body, and that's what they know. And they still don't know, like, if they are cold or if they are hot, if they're hungry, for example. That's why a lot of babies in the beginning, they sleep a lot and don't get up to be fed, because they don't know if they're hungry. So you have to step in on those things. And as I said, like having an environment that will help the baby to thrive. And one of those definitely is like the dark, the noise, and be up on the feeding situation.
And it's interesting because you talked about touch, and that's the whole thing that in some of this attachment styles, all of this started, because there was this concept that if you like touch your child too much, or you spoil them in some way, and actually it used to, they used to just basically hand their kids over to a nanny and have the nanny, and they would see them for maybe a couple of hours a week, the parents, and they would have the au pair or the nanny take care of the child instead of actually having that parental touch. And then they would even send them to boarding school so that they would learn, and that would give them their independence. And that was what Bowlby was looking at. He was saying, no, this doesn't make sense. Even in the hospitals, they were trying to keep the parents away from the child, and they were noticing that these childs were getting sicker instead of healthier. So these were some of the concepts, and that touch, we now know this is known that especially a preemie baby needs to be. It's going to affect them if they're not. So
exactly.
That's a huge part. So it's really interesting that it's taken this long for people to kind of recognize that, because we still have this idea of, oh, we don't want to spoil the kid. The kid is just, if we attend to them too much, we'll be spoiling them, and then they'll want that the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Marcus, can I piggyback on what you just said? And Ellen, this is I'm so glad we're diving into this. There is, I don't want to say it's a myth out in the community, but how factual is it that if you sleep with your baby, if you hold your baby too much, that your baby will become attached to you, and then when you put the baby down, it will have detachment issues, right? Because a lot of couples, I've always heard, you don't want to get in the habit of letting the baby sleep in the bed with you because, it's going to affect your relationship. You don't want to always pick up the baby when it's crying because the baby's going to now use that. Like the baby knows, oh, let me cry and mommy's going to pick me up. So how factual is that in your professional opinion?
Oh, it's not at all. It's all fake. Sorry. That's a myth. It's the opposite. You wanted to get your baby as much as you want to, you can, and hold them as much as, because that forced independence in the future, because that's what you want. I don't want my baby to be independent for me now, because I know she needs me as well. Like all the babies that I took care of before, I know they needed that. So I wanted them to be independent when they don't need that anymore. And also I want my baby to come to me when, and all the parents, I believe, when they have a trouble, I want the baby to be, the child, the adult to come to me and ask for help. I think all the parents wants that. So I have seen this post when people say oh, if you're in trouble, a parent wrote for the kids, say if you're in trouble one day, just bring this paper. We're going to work through the situation together. I don't want to have to write that for my kid. I wanted him to come to me because he knows I will help him, doesn't matter what. And that's what comes with the babies in the bad situation. The bad situation is a big, big thing, because first there is the safe situation. There is ways to be safe and sleep together with a co-sleeping, but it's a very specific ways. I followed the 7 safe sleep from Lalicha Lake, but it's a very specific way to do it. And also after 1 year old, you can do it. And trust me, your baby not going to sleep with you forever. They will not want that. And if they want it, it's because they need it. I go with the perspective of everything that a baby asks for or a child asks for is because they need it. It's not what they wanted. We have to think about a baby, the child, as they're growing. The brain is not fully developed yet. So there is a lot of things that we wanted the baby to be able to, but brain-wise, they are not there yet. You're not asking for, sometimes I think parents asking too much for the kids. And you can ask, for example, for 2 years old to share the toys, although we do this a lot, society talking, but the brain, it's not there yet. They are very egocentric. That's true. They are just think about themselves and they don't know how to share, but you ask them all the time, you have to share, You're not teaching them because the brain is not there yet. The brain is going to be there when he's 4. So you can spoil a child. You cannot spoil a newborn. I go with Ellen, one story.
I'm sorry, Ellen. Can you just emphasize that point one more time?
You cannot ever spoil a newborn. Everything the newborn needs, cry for, it's a need. He needs to be held. He needs the warmth. He needs the heartbeat. close to him, because that's what I said, that's what they know. They need that, all that, it's what they need. So when you give them the needs, you're not spoiled at all. I go with Montessori when you call like, what is a spoil then? What you think is a spoil? You spoil your kid when you do things for them that they can do on their own for a longer time already. Because everything for kids, they are in the process of learning. So that doesn't mean, like, for example, my kid today dressed himself up by himself. That doesn't mean tomorrow he will be like, I need help. Maybe it's a different type of clothes. And that type of clothes, he doesn't know yet how to do it. So it's a process. And then, like, after maybe 6 months of doing one time he does himself, or the time you help him, he will grow with that. And then voila, no more needed to help him to dress up. But it's a process. So, and then you start to spoil your kid when you do things for them that he can do them on themselves. And also, it's very important to the independence to let them experiment the word on their own view, on their own terms. Because sometimes you want to imply to them the right way to do. Who said that is the right way to do? We have let them explore the word on their own, because that comes with the creativity in the future. Because creative ideas come from the new. How you can ask for have a creative child when you don't let them explore the word on their own? Like, you don't let them to paint the sky as orange. Who said it? Sometimes the sky is orange. We have seen that. So that goes with that. So you cannot spoil a newborn. You are just meet their needs, as Marcus emphasized too. And that's it. Like, please pick up your kids. Pick up, it's no go. They go so fast. Time goes so fast, and they grow like this.
So just to be clear, if your child is crying, attend to them. They're not doing that to seek attention. They need something. That's why they're crying. You can also sleep with your child. It's not a big deal. Eventually, they'll end up sleeping by themselves on their own. All right. Thank you for clearing up that myth.
So that's really interesting, because I can attest to that. I have an 18-year-old now. She actually just got accepted to go study abroad in Chile. So that's going to be a big, that's a big turning point for me and Michelle now as well. But we actually had her in our bed until she was about 5 years old. We didn't mind. Part of it was that we really truly believed she was even born at home. We had 2 midwives. One of them was paying attention to the baby. The other one was paying attention to the mom. Michelle actually was 36-hour labor. But as soon as Hannah was born, she slept on my chest for the first 8 hours. Because we fell asleep. It was just 6:30 in the morning. We were up all night. Michelle was exhausted. So as soon as the baby was born, we went into bed, and I had the baby on my chest until that afternoon at 4:30 in the afternoon, when we had company come over and brought us our first sushi. But especially for Michelle. But I had the baby on my chest the whole time. And we slept with our baby until she was 5, and she would nurse. And it was easier on Michelle because she was able to not fully have to get up out of the bed and feed the child and all that. If she cried and she needed to be fed, she would just roll over and feed her. And so at 5, we said, do you want to have your own sleeping room? And she said, yeah. And she went to her own room. So it wasn't like a really difficult thing. And our whole philosophy was like, this is just temporary. We want to have this time with them. We want to enjoy this time with our child. And we knew, I mean, when she turned into a teenager, that kind of changed some of our dynamics. But when you talk about that whole idea of them coming to you, our daughter really comes to us when she has, she entrusts a lot of herself, and she asks us a lot of different questions that I find that other parents don't get asked or don't get entrusted with. So it's really interesting. So could you tell us a little bit, like, one of the tips that you can give, one of the secrets that parents should know when they bring their child home that they should do?
First of all, the more important is lower your expectations.
Okay.
Lower, being like very bare minimum of everything, like
So
everything that you have to read. Sorry.
Tell me a little bit more about that, about lowering the expectations. What?
Because we have read the books and we have seen that, oh, your baby is going to be doing this, this, and this. But the reality sometimes is very different. And and you're going to be Googling a lot of things like, it's normal to my newborn to do this. Normal to my, I see, like, as much as experience I have, I do this a lot too. Yeah. So get that, for example, like I have experience, I have done a lot of babies, I have taken care of them, and I see myself doing this. So lower your expectations of what's going to happen, and knowing that everything is new and everything you just changed, like you're a parent now, and just go with that, with not having expectations of what you read, or even more important, compare your child with other babies, even if it's the same age, even if you're twins. Do not compare, because every child's unique and they will be different. So that's the point. Get ready, prepare yourself for sleep night, like no sleep. Get the worst case scenario possible, because that helps you, like, oh, the baby slept for 2 hours. That's amazing. But get ready for the 45 minutes, sometimes not even that, and not just sleeping on the bassinet. Don't go crazy on the nursery, because most likely you're not going to use that for longer, like not in the beginning, at least. Parents go crazy, like, oh my gosh, I need to do the nursery. Your baby's going to spend a lot of time with you on your bed or on the chair with you. That's a good thing to spend money with, a good chair, because that's where you're going to spend a lot of time. And I think the most important is the expectation. Get ready for being very humble with your baby. So I seen like parents who having like a high end work, like they are running departments and everything, and being both to their knees because of a 7-pound baby, because they just lose it yet. They don't know what to do with. So books are great, yes, but they would not giving a little bit of what's the reality. The reality, it's very easy to write down something, but to live that, and your experience is going to be very different, or can be very similar of mine. So take that day by day also.
So a lot of times when babies come home, because just like you said, their nervous systems aren't fully developed, their digestive systems aren't fully developed either. So you have a lot of babies that can be very colicky and they can cry a lot. So is there any tips for those kind of parents where they bring the baby home and it's really, besides actually hiring you, obviously, because that would be the best. But is there anything that they could do?
Yeah, so as I said, like every baby is going to be different, and the breathing system, the respiratory system, and digestive system, and the emotional, nothing, this is already built up.
Yep.
So they are learning as they go.
Even their hormonal system, and I mean that's why touch is so important, because touch produces those hormones that are very that are just for connection and to learn that connection. So that's really,
yes, they are not there yet, and you have to like they are going to build it up, all these things. So cases like physically pain, like colic, gas, it's very common. The motor reflex, it's other, like when they just wake up like that, or they are moving that's crazy, that's a very common thing. It's because they don't have yet the control of that, and you just need to navigate, as I say, day by day, and it will get better, trust me. This child to pass. But the first thing is like have a good pediatrician that you can be open to say things like, as I'm sharing bad, or I need something to give to my baby for gas or colic. Reflux, it's the other big one because babies spit it up a lot, and that wakes them up. And sometimes it's more just reflux. Sometimes it can be the real disease that they need a medication for. Mm-hmm. So you have to be very tuned to your child to realize like what's going on. And as much as I try to say that to the parents, and I know it's hard to not panic when you see something that's new for you. So that's why the good relationship with the pediatrician will help a lot, because you have to feel confident to call them anytime you need, mm-hmm. and not being like shamed to do it, or even have questions that seems like is absurd, but you have to be able to ask and not being dismissed from them, because they will also be the first one that you're going to first like doctor that your baby's going to have. So you mm-hmm. have to trust in that.
I got a quick question for you, Ellen. Obviously, we live in a society where, you know, the mom is the caretaker, the primary caretaker. And sometimes, you know, guys may feel like, you know, we're working, trying to provide. How can fathers be more supportive, right? What tips do you have for dads to get more engaged and more involved during the process, during the infant process?
That's a very good question. And as I said, like most of the moms now, they are working before and like they're running departments, they're running the whole companies. And now they are seeing themselves like not asking permission, but waiting for a good moment to go to the bathroom. So they are very like in the low side of like what is a human being. Like going to bathroom, shower, all these things takes like, it's hard for the moms to do. So for the dads, hands-on, don't ask, do it. Like clean the bottle, hold the baby.
That's really, really important. Can you repeat that? Because that's like for dads, they should be hands-on, right?
Yes, hands-on. Pick up the baby. Do not let her ask for. Just go, because if she's asking for, like, she's already so stressful, so like a lot on her. And especially like if she's breastfeeding or she's wants to breastfeed but didn't work out, she's gonna give herself a lot, because it all the end comes like to her body, like how her body is responding things. And moms feels a lot of guilt that it's implied by society, because society.
Yep.
And yeah. So that is being hands-on. For example, I'm here right now. That is, you might be able to see him walking with the baby. You might be seeing her crying, but he's holding her. Yeah. He's with her. And I have the trust enough to let him deal with it. So he's going to give her a bottle and she'll be fine. So I'm breastfeeding, but I'm pumping to help. So he's doing things without me asking him to do it. So I didn't need to, like, oh, she's crying, go get her a bottle. Or that also moms let the parents, the dads do.
About the village kind of idea. You have to have that village, and the dad has to be part of that village so intricately.
Yeah, the village is a big thing. It's very important. So you build your village, but today, for example, I'm from Brazil, and it's just Miguel. Miguel is my husband. He lived in Tarrytown, so we are like 45 minutes away from the closest person for him. So it's most like we are the village for each other. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I haven't told him, like, we have to be nice to each other, because we just have each other to count on, like, right now if we need it.
And that's more and more the situation with a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. So imagine, for example, the moms on COVID time, mm-hmm. they just had each other. Like the parents, just like it's just me and you, because nobody can come to the house. So, or if it comes, we are so afraid, and the person also is so afraid. So we have like to navigate these things on our own, and you have to trust the person. And moms are very, very protective with the baby, especially in the beginning. They like
ask that, because
I do it. Yep. She's crying. Like, you have to give the dads the chance. So the 5 passes work very well.
That's another really important point, because moms usually, when the dad does something, the mom comes along and says, oh, no, that's not how you do it. You have to do it this way. And that prevents the dad from wanting to go back and do other things.
Exactly. So that prevents the dad to keep trying to be hands-on because nothing is right. So like, if I did this wrong, I'm pretty sure that thing also I'm going to do wrong. So I'm not doing, let her do everything. So that's when moms gets very overwhelmed too, because they're doing everything. So I also constantly telling my clients, let the daddy do the things on their way. Because even when I was a nanny, I do things different than the moms do. And that doesn't mean that I do better or worse. It's just different. And sometimes you need to be out because sometimes she's crying crazy and I'm already like exhausted and I don't know what to do. And sometimes when I was a nanny too. So like you kind of like have to get out of the island to see the island. So it's much easier when you have another person with another perspective or freshness to just come and help and save the day. Mm-hmm. So parents will do things different, and that's okay. And let them try, let the dads try.
Well, the research showed that it actually helps the child to be able to develop better, to have the dad's point of view and the mom's point of view, and the dad's style of playing and the mom's style of playing.
Yes.
So, mm-hmm. I'm sorry, Gene, I interrupted you.
Yeah. So Marcus, this question is for you, right? So, as a relationship coach and expert, what has been your experience as far as couples having challenges, first year of marriage or second year of marriage, or maybe in the first 3 year of marriage and having a baby?
Yeah, it is a huge stress. Actually, it's having the first year of marriage and then immediately having a child can create so much stress that the marriage falls apart. And I was talking to Ellen about this before, that 30% of domestic violence starts during pregnancy, and actual domestic abuse starts during pregnancy, which is kind of a sad statistic. So it causes so much stress that it goes into even abuse in that family, and the child coming in as well. That's when a lot of affairs or the process of a lot of affairs gets started. Because
get out of here.
Yes.
Really?
A major thing is this: when you're first together, you have certain needs being met. You have your certainty being met, you have your psychological need for significance being met, which is kind of like your uniqueness. You have your psychological need for variety being met. Your connection is being met, your growth and your contribution to that person. But now when you have the baby, so most of the time when the couple is in the beginning of their relationship, certainty and connection and variety are all huge, and all that, and significance are all at a high level. But now bring a child in, and now the mom's needs shift from being certainty and from being actually variety and significance, connection, to now certainty, and it's the certainty of that child. And now for the dad, he kind of feels a little bit neglected, because now it's all about the mom and the baby, the mom and the baby, mom and baby, and he feels kind of like left outside. And that's why helping the mom is so important, and him getting involved is so important, because he loses some of his significance, especially to his partner, because now it's all about the baby. And so now he feels a little bit neglected. And so he'll go into certainty with the child because he's certain about the child, and he'll go into other areas, but he'll find his significance somewhere else. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an affair. It could be at work. It could be in other areas, but he finds his significance somewhere else. And then, so what will happen at that point is that usually the next point in a relationship, which is really important, is when the last child leaves home, because now they have to figure out if they still have a connection, because it was all about the children. And so they end up having issues in that time. Yeah.
So how do couples, especially newlyweds in the first 3 years, how do they maintain that connection with this added stress?
With what Ellen does, with bringing them together, because that's the first step. It's bringing the parents together to do the things that they need to do. And it's having them work as a team, because now if they can work as a team with a child, they can work a team against life. because it's so much easier. So it's really uniting the parents with the child and being able to help the parents kind of have that connection together, that it's them with the baby. It's a family now. It's not, oh, I'm the provider, I'm really tired, I'm working 2 jobs. And the mom is like, well, I'm home, I'm taking care of the kid, I'm taking care of everything. And you're kind of doing your separate things for the same family, but you're not uniting where it's important, where you're having all that stress.
So that's a great tip, Marcus. Ellen, I got a question for you. When should a couple consider getting a nanny? At what stage, and what should they look for when considering getting a nanny? I know that's 2 questions. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Every family dynamic is going to be different. So, for example, for us, we are working from home. So as now, we're not thinking about nanny because we're working from home and it's still little. But if you're working from home and your job is very demanding and your maternity leave in US is a joke, there is no maternity leave most of the time. So 6 weeks, it's nothing. Sometimes that's what is guaranteed. And you have jobs that give you more or less, but you need that time. When mom cannot have that time and you need the other income and mom needs to go work or daddy needs to go work. Actually, dad is also, doesn't have a lot of time to be with the baby. It's a week, sometimes not even that. So that is something that we have really to fix, but this is another conversation. But so what is the best time to look for a nanny? When you need first, moms needs to be very aware of her mental issue, because that's when we ask for help. So like, for example, us, we don't have people around, or parents who doesn't have people around to help them daily, or sometimes with 2-3 hours. That's the moment that you're going to ask for at least a helper, like a 2-3 hours for you to disconnect of that work, because you live days as a repeat. It's a groundhog day every day. You're on the dark room with the noise machine, holding the baby, feeding the baby, changing diapers every day. So for you need to get out of that. So if your husband's not home because he's back into work, you need someone to come and rescue. So that's something that you have to think about it when you're pregnant. You don't think about when your baby's here. You think about when you're pregnant. So how the dynamic is going to be. After that, like if you need to come back to work, like you probably will know, 6-8 weeks, you have to have a plan before also baby's here, because that person, you need to trust that person a lot. So you need to have a relationship with that person. So what are you looking for in a nanny? And also, so as I say, that goes to the dynamic, because a lot of families not also childcare, it's very expensive, especially in New York. So sometimes you cannot hire a nanny because nanny is usually way more expensive to the daycare. So if you're thinking about putting in a daycare, go visit as much as you can while you're pregnant, because also the wait list is ridiculous.
That's a great tip. That's a great tip. That's something that me and my ex-wife dealt with. We went to like 4 or 5 different nurseries, and we were on a waiting list, and she was like, I gotta go back to work. We gotta figure something out. So being proactive and going early is definitely a great tip.
Because also, like, then you have the chance to say, like, is that the right person to take care of my kid, or that's the right place that I want my kids to grow? Because they're going to spend a lot of time there, or with the person that you have to make sure that the person is not just is going to be responsive, because key is okay. So children, they need one caregiver that do everything and no questions about it for them. Like, do not even question the love or the care they will have for. So they need one caregiver to do that. As we know, it's a lot for one person to do all of that for a child. So that's why we have more than one caregiver. But when you leave your kid with someone else, you need to make sure that person will do that for them. Yes. The person will not let them cry for hours until they fall asleep, because that's the cried out, for example. Or the person will attend the needs, or sometimes even if you don't know what's going on, the person will hold a crying baby. They will be able to like, okay, it's not about me. There's nothing baby's doing because of me. It's the baby's need to be held right now. So you need to find that person that's not the mom, that's not related to that baby. So how you can do that? So that's why you need time and intervene a lot of it and get a lot of references. That's very important. Very important, because it's easier when your baby's talking. 2 or 3 years old, they talk, they will tell you things. But when you're having a newborn, totally different story. So be proactive.
So to follow up with that, Marcus, I'm sorry. Like I got so many questions, right?
No, go ahead.
And then I'll let you go, Marcus. But you mentioned the mental issues after you have a baby. Can you touch on that a little bit, and just to give commentary, like, you know, I definitely noticed the difference. Well, you know what? I won't say that. Can you can you talk about you know, the mental issues that may arise after having a baby? And I think they call it postpartum, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And that is a real thing, right? That's not a myth.
It's a very real thing. It's a very real thing. Like, the moms don't want to have to do nothing with the baby. They're just like, here, take care of that. Because if I would do it, I will. They have like with suicide thoughts, and not just that, to kill the baby, because they want to end this. Oh, sorry. I think I froze. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
We can still hear you.
Still hear you.
Okay. So the baby did not just suicide thoughts, but also to kill the baby.
Wow.
So that's very common.
Dangerous.
And most of the time, the postpartum depression doesn't start when the baby's here. It starts before, because pregnancy, it's very hard itself. I remember telling my mom, so I was working as a nanny when I was pregnant, and my first trimester was horrible. And I remember to telling her, like, I don't feel myself. I don't feel normal. And she's like, and you're never going to be again. So that starts like right before, like when I was in the first trimester, yet like having the nauseous, this morning sickness. So that took a lot of me. And listen, I have done a lot of hard things in life. Like, I do Spartan races. I have done in Vermont and the Killington, the resort, going up the mountain and going down in the raining weather. So a lot of things that takes a lot of my physical, but nothing like pregnancy.
And
So
that's important for us guys to understand, because, you know, guys are like, oh, what, you know, but
no, it's like, I have done so many physical hard things, nothing like pregnancy, nothing. And so then you start to lose yourself right there as a mother, right there, like, because, and then for my first trimester, I could not work. Like, workout was something very important for me. I know that you're on a Orange Theory, Jen. So workout was something very important to me, and I just could not do it anymore. The tiredness that took on me was like insane. So I went through that, and that your depression starts if you're not really in a good place, and if you don't have the right people on you, your depression starts right there. When the baby's coming, it's just make worse. And why it's so hard also after the baby's born? Because you're recovering from that. For everything that your body have done for 9 months, it's gone like this. Like in your case, Marcus, and your wife, 36 hours. In my case, was like about 10. It's over, like in 9 months. So, and then you're recovering from that, from the labor, from everything. You have a C-section. It's harder because you cannot even move from the bed. So, and you lose yourself so much being a mom, transforming of being a mom, because you don't lose yourself, like you're recreating yourself. And that's not easy, because it has to be very fast, because while you're doing this, you have someone else that depends on you, that cries a lot. And sometimes you don't know what to cry for. And that takes a lot on you. So yeah, mental issue is very important. And moms has to be, and partners also has to be able to see that mom's is not doing well. And I think the fact that, for example, the mom's like, no, I don't want to take care of the baby. Please hold her. I don't want to hold the baby. That is one of the big ones. It is easiest ones to see. But there is the ones that just, the mom just make true, but she's not feeling well. So that's important to have her own time. And partners has to be on top of that. Even if it's half an hour, get out of the house for half an hour. Just because most of the time also one doesn't know what to do. Like I lose because like I'm doing this so much, like as I said, like every day is the same day. And I just don't know what to do with this half an hour.
Yeah.
So get out of the house, do something completely different, like go for a walk or just sit down there and think with your own thoughts. Yeah. That's a good thing. Or call a friend. Go talk about all like any other things. That's very important. And I think partners is very important to help the moms, because sometimes the moms doesn't know that they are having the postpartum depression. Mm-hmm. They do not know. They are just on that loop.
Depression is very difficult to recognize when you're in it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're feeling it, but you don't know that that's what it is. And especially if you're a positive person, because you're like, okay, that doesn't happen to me, or I can fight this, because there's a stigma to having any mental situation. So you're like, well, no, that can happen to me, because if I admit that happened to me, then there's something wrong with me.
And I'm weak.
So that causes a lot of pressure on those situations, and it just makes them be in a world of their own, and it can be pretty dangerous in those situations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this word, and it gets very tight, this word, because there is not so much room for doing things for yourself more than what you're doing like it's a repeat every day. So there is no room to do nothing else different.
Variety.
Yeah, the variety that you talk about, like when it goes to the relationship. Yeah. And I see that a lot on myself, for example, because we used to go hiking in the different places all the time. So like I see like Sunday morning sometimes when it's great day, like beautiful day, like not so much now, but usually we had those. And I'm like, we can go hike, we cannot do nothing, we cannot go out. And especially when the baby's so little, you kind of like avoid to going public because you're afraid, especially now. So that goes a lot of in your mind and affects your relationship, because you're not that person anymore. And sometimes it's hard to bring that on that point, because all this transformation, all this recreation, he hadn't gone that. His hormones is still the same. But sometimes there is dads who they are so attached, like the secure attachment, it's so strong with the wife that they feel something changing, but not really like the mom, but still like there is that there's nothing. And they just,
and many dads can miss the fact that the person is going through depression until she does something that they find totally outrageous. And then they're like, oh, this is what there's something going on here. And sometimes, unfortunately, instead of supporting that person, they'll actually kind of push up, think that person is basically crazy, and not support them in that situation. So that's another area that can be tough. And it's that, and I really truly believe it's just dads need to become more involved in the situation. I think they've been pushed away from that part of even to the point where they didn't allow them to go into the birthing room, because they were the dads. They stay over there. They have the cigars, blah, blah, blah. And that's the that we have. And so it's really, it's more about, okay, this baby came home. Now you did the 9 months. Now I can start helping and be the, help you for the next 9 months with all the work that you did for the 9 months, and then at that point, things start shifting because the baby changes. And as the baby changes, things will start shifting. Now, not to leave the postpartum depression, because that's a really important area, but obviously it's not something that you would deal directly with. What kind of help would you have these clients get if they find out that they're in that situation?
Yeah, I'm working on my network for that. Okay. So I definitely looking for therapists and psychologists who works with mothers. So there is groups that I know. So usually I send them to the groups. So La Leche Leg is it's my favorite group, because they are huge and they are everywhere. So, and they treat that also, because as I said, like moms also have the cuteness so high end on them that sometimes it's the postpartum depression combined with like, I'm not good enough. Mm-hmm. So there is like, because a newborn is so demanding that you feel like, as much as the good I am doing this, how can I'm not handling this well. And then you feel that like, I'm not good at it. And then that comes out from depression.
Especially
So
the picture that we get in our society in Hollywood, which is the woman is supposed to be like, the mother, and she goes out and the career woman at the same time, and she does all these things at the same time, when that's impossible. So we have this picture, this ideal of what's going to happen, and then when it doesn't happen, we feel so. In essence, it might be a point of just surrendering to reality and allowing yourself just to be guided by what's going on.
yes, you have to let go the control, because we are very controlling people. Like, we are all society talking. We like to have to control. When you have a newborn, you have zero control, right? When you bring a new, like, I don't know when she's gonna be eating or sleeping, or I don't know. So you have to let go the control. That's a very important thing. And about like Hollywood, so there is a movie that's very good that I like, and called Tully, that kind of like show that what's being in the other side, like what's being not taken care of, everything.
So how do you spell that?
Tuly.
Okay.
It's with Charlize Theron. She's the mom. It's a very good movie, and she ends up having like she has a sleep. She can't sleep at all. So it's great. It's a very good movie. She goes like through a kind of a different type of depression. So it's important. Like, I think it's important for moms to see that movie and see like, oh, that happens, because that can happen.
Oh, when people are sleep deprived through instances where they can't problem solve properly and everything. So that's a huge issue. So
I think
we're coming kind of to an end. Is there anything that we haven't asked about bringing baby home, and the tips and tricks that for parents bringing baby home, that is some insider stuff that you can share, that you would like to share with the audience about infants?
Yes. I think most important is be patient with yourselves, and with your partner, and with the people who comes eventually to help you. And as I said, like, it's very important to build you said that as well, the village. So have that, because, for example, simple things as food, you're not going to be in the mood to cook. So having that village who just drop the food for a meal for you is going to change so much your perspective. Dads are, or the partner or the other person that you have, they are the spoiler of the word when you have a mother, and they are the first person who introduced what the words look like for the infant. So be kind, and be kind with the mom, and try to understand. And as I said, be empathic. It's the biggest thing. I think the biggest word why we should try to be right now, like, it's a goal. And that being empathic with the moms, and as I said, moms being patient with yourselves, because it's a lot of change. And I understand, like, take time for yourself, even if it's like 5 minutes, to recover yourself, to deep breath, because things is gonna be better. Trust me, it shall to pass.
So go ahead.
So Marcus, what tip would you have for couples that are in their first 3 to 5 years of marriage that just have had a baby? What are some relationship tips?
To take a good marital enhancement class.
Yes.
Seriously, it's unfortunate, but experts in marital therapy know that marital enhancement classes do work very well, but there's some of the hardest sells for couples. For some reason, couples, there's several reasons, but they resist going into those things. There is Gottman, and the work that I use he has a book called Bringing Baby Home, and in that book he delineates 6 steps to bringing that child home, and being able to have the parents, and they researched this where they know, and I had actually sent Ellen the research for the class of how successful the class was, and they just delineate 6 different steps. One of them is to realize that you are both in the same situation. Father and mother are with the baby, and everybody goes through it, which is part of it. We're all part of, everybody gets dissatisfied when most people get dissatisfied when 2/3 or 3/4 become dissatisfied when the baby comes home. So realize that. Delight yourself in responding to the child. And this is what Ellen actually teaches the parents. Mm-hmm. She teaches them how to relate to the child. Make sure that if you have fights, that you're not escalating them. You're not using the 4 horsemen that we've talked about before. That's a huge part. Really make that connection, because remember, it's not just so much communication, but it's that foundation of friendship. So make sure that you keep each other as that friendship strong throughout the baby years. Mm-hmm. Let the dad do what the dad needs to do with the child, and create an atmosphere for the child to grow and be a legacy in your family. And those are the 6 steps that Gottman truly uses. And that's what we teach. A lot of that is what we teach in our courses. So,
and Marcus, to piggyback on what you said, right? Like, I would highly encourage, any couple that's listening to this to take the time, effort, energy, and capital and invest in a Marcus, invest in an Ellen. And just to share my story, I was married, never thought I would be divorced. Okay. Got married. My ex-wife was actually pregnant when we got married. And then we immediately started having issues because, once the baby was born, extra stress, we both were in school, we both were working full-time jobs, and then COVID hit, and we didn't have the tools, right, for Marcus and Ellen to help save our marriage. And I never got married saying to myself, nobody gets married saying to myself, oh, I want to get a divorce. You know what I'm saying? But you have to have these tools in place, right? You have to be prepared. And this is why I'm so passionate about this show, is because I don't want any other couple to go through what me and my ex went through, right? So if I have the opportunity to help and influence others, I'm going to use this platform to do that, and I'm not ashamed, I'm not happy that, I'm going through a divorce, but at the same time, like, I'm not ashamed to talk about my story because I want to help others. I took this tragic situation that happened to me and I'm trying to spin it in a positive way. And I've learned so much from Marcus. I don't think I'm going to be having any more babies, but, if I happen to, be having another baby, I would definitely be investing in Ellen. So Marcus, you want to close out the show?
Yeah, thank you, Ellen, for a great interview. I'm sure all the couples with infants in our audience have gotten really tons of good information with tips and tricks that you've shared about bringing the baby home. This was some really good stuff. I liked it, especially the attachment stuff. So thank you very much for staying so graciously with us. It's been great. Can you tell us a little bit more about how parentingtouch.com, or how they can reach you specifically? How does it help couples with infants? The best way to thrive? Like, how would they reach out to you, and when would they reach out to you?
The preferred way, like the time, it's before the baby's born. As I said, like, you have to be very supportive. Like, we have a program for when you're expecting, so that is the best time to reach to us. So yeah, you reach to us through our website, parentingtouch.com, and there you have like a 15 minutes of free conversation, an intro for us to see if you're in the same page, because also there's parents who really want to sleep train. I'm like, I'm having my mind set up, and then I would not be a good source for you. But if you have like, no, I want to be with my kid, I wanted to attend their needs, I'm the person that you're going to look for. And yeah, parentingtouch.com, that's why you reach us, also like social media.
Okay, so thank you again.
Thank you guys for having me. That was awesome. It was very cool.
And thank you all for listening, for joining us in this amazing presentation about tips and tricks on bringing baby home. It'll help you massively improve some of your results with when the kids come home. So again, Gene, I am Marcus, and thank you for joining us on Learn, Live, Love. I'd like to invite you to check out our page on YouTube and like us on Facebook. Have a great day.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Okay,
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
We'll see you. Okay. I'll talk to you later, Ellen. Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
That
Thank you.
was great, guys. Hey, Marcus, I'm gonna shoot you the link to the interview ASAP. Okay.
Okay.
I'm about to have another one-on-one. So as soon as I'm done with that, I'll link up with you.
Okay,
All
guys.
right, guys.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.